a marine scientist, an environmental activist, a women's rights activist, and a sportswoman, all kind of jumbled into one. I'm in the board of the Environment Society of Oman, which is the only environmental NGO in the country. And I've also started my own foundation as well that focuses on teaching women negotiation skills so they can be like confident and they can control their life and they can be the next girl bosses in the region. Our efforts actually led to the banning of plastic bags or single-use plastics in the country, and we still continue to kind of spread awareness. I loved soccer since I was a kid. I grew up in a very soccer-oriented family, and that was something that I always wanted before becoming a marine scientist. Was always something that I wanted to aspire to until you realize that you are in a country that really doesn't push you to actually become a professional. I pursued it during my time when I was in undergrad in the Netherlands as well. And then coming back, I was offered a position of being part of the women's national football team. This was the first time ever such a team actually existed. Unfortunately for us, 2008 happened, which was at the financial crisis that all of us kind of lived through. And they decided to not move ahead with the team. We went on radio, spoke about this, but obviously that was the first time I think the entire community actually realized, like, what? There's a female team? We don't want that. That's never going to happen. And we got a lot of backlash as a result of going on air. It was trying to help us reach a message, and that didn't work. So it was like, you know what, I want to change this mindset. So how about you guys come every week? I have a show. It's a sports show. We talk about soccer. We talk about international leagues, and you be the pundits. I ended up in the newspapers, not knowingly that we actually set history that day. We set the record of being the first female analysts or pundits in the Arab world, and that was insane. Sponsors actually pulled their support from the show, which meant that they had to kind of let us go. So I decided, rather than doing it in my native Arabic, I'm bilingual, so I could do it in English as well, and let's see how that takes me. Maybe English radio would be more forgiving, and that's what happened. So I ended up having a show, still have a show, 13 years on, talking about soccer. This is at a time where you had forums where people could write essays about how horrible you are. And it was very difficult to kind of navigate all the negative comments that came there. This is the thank you that you tend to get as a woman most of the time, until you trailblaze your way, you make your way, you open it for other women, you normalize it. If this was 2008, you wouldn't get the same reception as it is now, as 2021. You have men now saying, so what's wrong? I'll actually send my daughter to soccer camp. And you're like, what? This is amazing. Like, back in our day, that wasn't possible. And I'm so glad that I had a hand in kind of making it normal and normalizing it for a lot of other women who have this dream of pursuing the sport. When people would ask me, who are your role models? I didn't have anybody who was a woman, right? And I couldn't say that I wanted to emulate this person who actually looks like me, who speaks my language, who actually understands where I come from. This kind of makes me speechless when I realize, like, oh my God, now when you actually get little girls come to you saying, because of your story, that I was able to convince my parents that I'm capable of playing soccer today. As a result of all the things that I've done, I got a lot of women that came to me saying, how did you kind of go about doing or convincing your parents that you wanted to travel, or convincing, I mean, we really come from a very conservative society where societal and hierarchical structure and patriarchy in general exists very, very strongly over here. I actually went to the South Pole doing something that was so difficult to do. And then I was like, you know what? I actually love traveling alone. What next can I do? And I was like, oh, maybe swim in all the oceans, because I got to swim in the Southern Ocean. That was my mission. I want to swim in all the 5 oceans and 7 seas of the world. Let's do this. And that actually took me to 75 countries. But I never really thought of how I could put it into action. And that was always something that I wondered, like, how would I actually bring it in all these learnings into one that made sense? Then I went back to school back in 2019 and took negotiations classes. There's so many things that you can negotiate for. It's just that nobody really gave you the toolkit that you can actually utilize to have those tough, uncomfortable conversations that you will end up getting what you want in the end. Every single thing, that interest that I had, was because someone told me no for who I am. I've been questioned a lot because of what I do, and I still do it. This just is like a full circle. It comes full circle to actually pass on that knowledge and make sure that my message to empower women and my message to actually do as much as I can to save the environment with the limited capacity that I have actually come in together through the things that I do.